Hello fellow mutants, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to talk about, we're going to read an article that says, or is titled, Star Wars John Boyega reveals what he wished happened during the sequel trilogy. For those of you who hasn't watched the sequel trilogy to Star Wars, or just haven't really paid attention to the sequel trilogy, really. John Boyega played Finn in the sequel trilogy, who started out as a stormtrooper who worked for the First Order as a stormtrooper. Later, ditched the First Order, went to the Resistance, and towards the end of the sequel trilogy, it was hinted that he was force sensitive. So there's that. And the force, the sequel trilogy alone, in my opinion, it's a hot mess. And you can tell that they had no plan. The Force Awakens was the best one out of the three. And I think The Force Awakens as a standalone movie is a really good movie in my opinion. But connected to The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, it damages it a bit. It gets damaged a bit, if you get my meaning. I'm in the camp where I'm not the biggest sequel trilogy fan, and I actually said in I forget if I made a video of this. I probably did, or I'm probably, if I haven't, I'm going to make a video of this, going into more detail. But I know I did discuss it on the stream, where I am in the camp where I'm not a big fan of the sequel trilogy era, but want more content in the sequel trilogy era. Good content to hopefully, so I can, say, even though the sequel trilogy movies were in, I do like certain aspects in the, I want to say, I like this show, or I like that show, or I like this game, I like that game. The only thing I can say I like in the sequel trilogy era is, the second story arc in Battlefront 2, but, that's in, 2 hours worth, and I don't feel like that alone can make me say, oh, even though the movies were in, there are multiple aspects in the sequel trilogy that I did like, or trilogy era that I did like, but that's besides the point. I can go on a rant about that in a future video if I hadn't make that video yet. This video is going to be, we're going to talk about what John Boyega wishes what happened during the sequel trilogy. So enough of my opinions or my takes. Let's see what John Boyega has to say. So it says John Boyega was part of the Star Wars sequel trilogy from 2015 to 2019. As Finn, a stormtrooper turned resistance fighter. While Finn showed a lot of promise in The Force Awakens, his character got silenced to focus more on Rey's story, and Boyega is now expressing what he wished happened during the sequel trilogy. Fans to this day are still mad over how Finn's stories turned out during the sequels. His story first developed in Star Wars The Force Awakens as a stormtrooper who was taken away from his family as a baby and sold to the First Order, only to escape and be part of the resistance movement. But then, the next 2 movies, he was reduced to more of a sidekick role. And that is true. That was one of my issues with it too, because I feel like I'm in the camp where Finn has so much promise. And they could have somewhat redeemed themselves in episode 9, but they still kept him as a sidekick role, and I was butthurt about that. Anywho, getting back to the article, which I will link in the pinned comments down below, so if you guys want to read this, you guys can. Anywho, In an interview with Vanity Fair, Boyega spoke about what he would have liked to see in the sequel trilogy, and what he was iffy about. Said the actor, um, "It is okay. It is true that all these characters spend a lot of the most recent Star Wars trilogy separated instead of being together fighting against a common enemy. While Han Solo died at the end of The Force Awakens, he never got the chance to reunite with Luke Skywalker, who chose to live in exile after Solo's son turned to the dark side. While Rey got plenty of time to bond with the iconic trio, Finn really only had a snippet moments with them. He not really spent time with Luke though. He spent time with Han and some time with Leia. But I don't think he really ever really spent time with Luke in the sequel trilogy. Like in the Last Jedi, Finn only saw Luke. He didn't really interact with Luke. He interacted with Leia, I'm pretty sure. And he interacted with Han for sure. Just Luke, I don't think he ever had any interactions, just off the top of my head. Correct me if I'm wrong. Spit came out of my mouth, great. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm going to keep that spit in. Sorry. Anywho, the 30-year-old also told Vanity Fair that he wished the original characters had more time to pass the baton to the new characters. He makes a good point considering that the original characters died in each movie with the order of Han, Luke, and Leia due to Carrie Fisher's untimely death. Yeah. And I feel like, press part included, but I feel like that's what a lot of fans wanted. Like, The Force Awakens should have centered a bit more on Han, Luke, and Leia, right? Sure, have like what? If anything, if they're going to keep The Force Awakens mostly the same, the thing I would change is Luke appearing. Because we only got Luke, 30 seconds of the entire movie? So what, and I feel like this is what a lot of people want too. What I would have done is had Luke, if he wasn't going to be there to see Kylo Ren killing his own father, then do I even have the lightsaber near me? Yeah, I do. When the lightsaber, his father's lightsaber in the snow, right? And Kylo Ren was trying to get the lightsaber, right? Besides flying in the hands of Rey, it sort of flew in the hands of Luke. And maybe, have an attack team, I'll give them Disney this. Maybe Luke, if they're going to have him, get shut off from the Force, how they did in the Last Jedi, maybe have him be kind of roasty. And essentially have that be part 1 to the final fight, right? And then part 2 being Rey getting the lightsaber, fighting Kylo. Just, my point is, I'm not saying that would have been a good final fight, but I think at least that way it would be more acceptable for fans. And that way, if they brought in Luke, either when seeing Kylo kill his best friend, well, Luke's best friend, Kylo's father, or fighting Kylo Ren, that way we could have had Luke potentially carrying Finn if Chewbacca was going to. We get this little quick reunion with Luke and Chewbacca, but be for a split second saying, "Nice to see you again, Chewbacca," and Chewbacca in his Wookiee growl pretty much saying, "Nice to see you too." And then they just go into Falcon because they don't have much time, and then later on have a longer extended reunion with each other. Plus having Luke be reunited with Leia. That would have been, I feel a cooler, a better way to handle the whole Luke thing. Sure, it might not have been like reuniting with Han, and ideally, I like Han, Luke, and Leia would have interacted at least once, or at the very least, in The Last Jedi, have a flashback scene where we've seen all three of the original trilogy characters, the legacy characters, together. Because keep in mind, at this point, we already had Rogue One, right? And Rogue One was the first Star Wars movie to use flashbacks. So at this point, using flashbacks, it wasn't a new concept. And The Last Jedi did use flashbacks too, but still. Anyways, I'm going to keep reading. Despite the British actor's lost battle of fighting for more Finn in Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, he still considered himself a massive Star Wars fan. He expressed to Vanity Fair that he still watches the Star Wars spin-off series, The Mandalorian and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and as far as if he ever returned to playing Finn again, he said it will only be if co-stars Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac would come back too. But until then, Boyega considers himself Star Wars retired. Fair enough. While the Star Wars sequel trilogy was a great way for John Boyega to make a name for himself in the entertainment world, his post-Star Wars life has been a great one. He has 3 films coming out this year, including Sundance thriller Breaking, about the true story of the Marine Corps veteran who robs a bank after the Department of Veterans Affairs stopped sending him disability checks. Fans will see him play King Gizio in the historical epic and the Woman King on September 16th. And the Netflix drama They Clone Tyrone coming sometime this year. John Boyega may have his complaints about Star Wars, but he's still a massive part of the beloved franchise. You can see him play Finn in the sequel trilogy with a Disney Plus subscription. So I have to agree. Essentially, the original trio should have had more screen time with each other. And they should have had more screen time with each other. Finn should have, for sure, been more prominent in the last, if not in The Last Jedi, then in Rise of Skywalker. Because I feel like I'm probably going to get some hate for this, but hear me out first. If there was a reason for Finn being a side character, and at that point of Finn being a side character to essentially be a main figure, like more of a main figure in The Rise of Skywalker, then I feel like him being sidelined in The Last Jedi would not matter as much, if that makes sense. And Finn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I might not be a huge fan of the sequel trilogy. Oh, I don't know why I thought. Oh, sorry. But I might not be a big fan of the sequel trilogy, but Finn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. He has great potential, and for that reason, he has so much potential. I loved his portrayal in the Force Awakens. Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker was but like I said, Finn is one of my favorite Star Wars characters for sure, and I do hope that the character of Finn does get his time to shine, because I do think that he was royally screwed over in the sequel trilogy. Him and John Boyega. I mean, I just want to see Finn have his moment shine. And I do remember saying on a stream not too long ago that which also incorporates his conditions of coming back, having a show where it's like maybe the first show in the sequel trilogy timeline, or maybe it's like the first show will be about Rey trying to teach Finn how to use the Force, become a Jedi, right? And then like the Rey show will be like a one like season thing, right? Which will lead into Finn still learning how to be a Jedi, right? But from his perspective. And then, but that being 2 seasons, right? The first season really being really trying to learn how to be a Jedi. Second season, him trying to navigate through the universe, being a resistance hero, and being a Jedi. And then the Finn miniseries and the Rey miniseries, limited series, could have filled into like the whole could have paved a way to a Jedi a show where Finn and Rey tries to bring back the Jedi, you know, and they could have Poe as coming along with them, being their pilot, right? Because we already established that Poe is the Han Solo Jr. pretty much. So like, have Poe being there, have him be included, have him be the pilot pretty much, because he's the best pilot in the galaxy at this point, right? So have him tag along as well. That will also meet John Boyega's standards. There we go. Have us many like essentially 2 series, one about Finn, one about Rey, and both series lead into them reviving the Jedi Order, but making it better than it was in the Clone Wars or the Luke Skywalker era, essentially, because everything can be improved, right? As much as of a fan I am to Luke Skywalker, because he's my favorite Jedi, I'm willing to bet you there were some flaws that Luke Skywalker had that could have been better. And by bringing it back, Rey and Finn can work on those flaws, as well as like looking back in the Jedi text and see what the Jedi of like the Clone Wars or the prequels in general did, or just in the past in general, so they won't make a repeat of the same mistake, if that makes sense. Anywho, my point is, I have to agree with Finn. John Boyega's take on this. What do you guys think? Do you guys agree with John Boyega's take or disagree? Let me know in the comment section down below. Hope you have a wonderful day. Kind of one other, and I'll talk to you guys later. Later, taters.